Hello besties, I'm coming at you with no makeup because I am filming this at 1:30 a.m. the day before I have to get surgery. So let's just get into this. This is my bare face. Let's get into what we're going to talk about today, which is my entire digital TBR. I recently did a video where I went over every physical book on my TBR. And the thing about me is I'm an audiobook bitch. And so I actually own quite a few audiobooks on Audible and on Libro FM. To be exact, this TBR is 124 books. And in order to keep track of it, I actually went on Fable and I made a list of all of the books so I can keep them all together. And it just so happens that Fable is today's sponsor. It's an all-in-one platform. They have a feed where you can engage with other readers. You can also set reading goals and then track your books. And also, they have quarter and half star rating. And to be able to have that granular control over how you rate books is just so special. Another thing that I highly love and appreciate about Fable is how attractive the app is. If you've ever been on a certain app owned by a man named Jeffrey Bezos, you might know that it is common for reading trackers to be ugly. But Fable, she said, nah, I will be cute, I will be attractive. So when you get your reading stats, they give you little graphs and the colors, everything about it is just, it's chef's kiss. Some of you might not know this, but I actually design apps for a living. That's my day job. So it means so much to me to go onto an app that has beautiful user experience as well as user interface. Like, it's just like, it could make you cry. Check my description for a link so you can download Fable today and you can add me on there. It'll be a cute little time. You can see my digital TBR. I made that list public and you can also see how my reading's been going so far this year. I really have been trying to utilize the granular rating system. Like, I'm like, oh, now I can do 0.25, 0.5. I don't even know what to do. But anyway, let's get back into the video. Let's talk about this TBR and get down to business. We're gonna start with Audible, and these are in no particular order because all of my Audible books are ones that I have picked out and used credits on, so I'm pretty familiar with all of them on here. The first one is Reckless by Elsie Silver. This is one of the books in the Chestnut Springs series, which is all about cowboys. I never would have thought that I'd be into a cowboy romance, but Elsie Silver has certainly changed my mind. Slap my ass, say yeehaw, I'm gonna have a good time. Next up, we have Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. This is the third and final book, I think, in the Emily Wilde series, and I'm very, very excited to pick up this conclusion. The last two books were amazing. I wish this series would be 10 books. It's just cozy fantasy at its finest. I love it so much. Then we have The Storied Life of AJ Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. This isn't my normal kind of book, but I absolutely loved Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I think this one's about a child that gets adopted, and there might be magic in it. And then we have Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is a romantasy that I've been hearing a lot of people talk about. There's dragons in it. It was one of my book club picks recently, and so quite a few books on here are from my book club for my Patreon. And then we have The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is also for my book club. This is a lot of like long fantasy books. It's fine. I'll make it through. Because the next one is Blood Over Brighthaven, which you guessed it, for my book club. Up next, we have Shades of Milk and Honey by Mary Robinette Cowell. From what I know, this is like a cozy fantasy version of Pride and Prejudice. The next three books are all from the same series. We have Killing Sarai, Reviving Isabel, and The Swan and the Jackal by J.A. Redmersky. This is the first three books in a mafia dark romance series. I have had this on my TBR for freaking ever, like literally forever, because Riley has always loved these books and she always used to talk about them in like 2016. Then we have Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. I know that this is kind of a thriller and it's a kind of reverse situation where a woman is essaying men. Up next, we have Montfilio by Gerardo Samano Cordova. I can't lie that that was a tongue twister for me. My Spanish is not good. I need to work on it. I took like 8 years of Spanish in school. I should probably get some Duolingo up in here. I think a child dies and his mom like buries his lung in the ground and then it grows into like a little creature. And so it's like sad grief book, but also a horror book. Then we have War of Hearts by S. Young. This is a very random book that I downloaded to my Audible library. It's actually one of the free books. And I did it because Heather McLary said she liked it recently in a video. I don't know, I'm really into Heather McLary these days. I love her vlogs. If you haven't watched her, you absolutely should watch her. But she mentioned it recently and I put it on my TBR. Another cozy fantasy coming at us with A Keeper of Enchanted Rooms by Charlie N. Holmberg. This one I'm gonna guess is about a keeper of enchanted rooms. Where does it take place? Besides in some enchanted rooms, I don't know. Who's the main character? Probably the keeper. Couldn't tell you anything else. Then we have The Devil Crept In by Anya Albarn. I think I got this because I read Brother by Anya Albarn and I liked it. I liked it, I didn't love it. And so I wanted to read some other stuff by her, and I know that a lot of people like The Devil Crept In. I was gonna do the joke again where I was like, I don't know what it's about, but it might be about the devil creeping in, but I realized I need to stop this bit. Like, I think it's gonna get old really fast. The next 3 books are all by T. Kingfisher. I think I was like stocking up on T. Kingfisher during a sale, but I've got Paladin's Grace, A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, and then Bryony and Roses. I think Bryony and Roses is like her version of Beauty and the Beast. Also, am I saying Bryony right? Could not tell you. Then we have a horror, Suffer the Children by Craig DeLuey. I know this is about a bunch of children who get turned into vampires and like terrorize their parents. That sounds like a nightmare, so I'm excited to read that. I hope I get scared. Up next, we have Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. I desperately want to give Robin Hobb a second chance because I read Assassin's Apprentice and thought that book was very bad. I'm so sorry. I know it's a beloved series. Why was there no assassinating happening? It's called The Assassin's Apprentice, and no assassinating happened until the very, very end of the very long book. And when the guy even did the assassinating, he felt bad about it. But I've heard that Ship of Magic has more female characters in it, and someone in my comments once was like, hey, try that if you want to read Robin Hobb. So I'm gonna give Robin Hobb one more go. Then we have Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. This is a romantasy about a girl with powers, as many romantasy are. Then we have All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is the first book in the Murderbot series, which I really need to finally listen to and read because there's a TV show coming out. The next book might have you being like, why? Why do you have that? Because it is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, Dreadfully Ever After. This is the sequel to the first book, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is not well loved by many people. And it literally is just the text from Jane Austen, but with zombies inserted. I kind of thought it was campy and fun. Like, I liked it. I gave it 4 stars, which is kind of crazy because I know that it was panned by critics. Not everybody loved that, but I was curious to read the sequel because I think the sequel is completely an original story that does not rely on Jane Austen's writing. Then we have Real by Kennedy Ryan. I know this book is about 2 actors who are performing in a movie that is about the Harlem Renaissance, and our main female character has a chronic illness and she's like falling in love with her co-star. And then we have War by Laura Thalassa. This is another romance book, but it is about a woman falling in love with one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. It's a sequel to the first book, Pestilence, which was ridiculous, and I believe I gave it 4 stars because it was a very fun time. And so I'm excited to continue that series. I started it years ago, like probably like 2022. All right, next I have Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I do have a physical copy of this that I've read, but I bought the audiobook years ago because I was very curious to experience it on audio because it's a mixed media book. Up next, we have Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. It has one of the more promising premises for me with Celeste Ng, where I'm like very curious to know like what's gonna happen, because it's about a girl who's like picture perfect in her family, and then one day she dies in a very mysterious way and her family doesn't really understand what happened to her. So it's all about like exploring the events leading up to that. That's my memory of what it was about. The next 2 books are both by Grace Draven, my romantasy queen. Grace Draven is definitely the first romantasy author I ever really like dabbled with, and I actually got these on Audible like immediately after I read Radiance, and I also read her Beauty and the Beast retelling, which is called Entreat Me. First we have Eidolon, which is actually a sequel to Radiance, which I would probably need to reread Radiance in order to listen to this. And then also we have Master of Crows, which I have no idea what that one's about, but I know I've just had this in my Audible library forever. All right, now we're on the home stretch with Audible. We only have 2 more books. We have The In-Between by Michael Landweber, which is I believe a sci-fi. And then finally we have The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I have very low hopes for this one because I really, really hated The 7-Year Slip, but I kind of want to give Ashley Poston a second chance. On my Libro FM TBR, I have over 100 books, and I have to explain my shame. I think it's very easy when you're building a digital TBR to kind of lose track of how many books are really on there. And I'm a part of the advanced listener copy influencer program. When it's free, you're just like, yeah, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, and you just end up with a huge library. I have become a little bit more particular when I'm picking every month, like when I'm actually picking out the books that I want from Libro FM lately. That doesn't undo the damage that was done in the past. Obviously, I'm very grateful that I was allowed into the ALC program, but I need to do better by them. I need to do better by all these authors, and you also need to let me know in the comments as we go over these by genre, which ones are a hit and which ones are a miss, because I am also willing to archive some of these books and take them out of my library because I didn't spend money on them. Starting strong with romance, we have The Duke and Lady Scandal by Christy Carlisle, A Duke Never Tells by Suzanne Enoch, Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. A little scared to read this. I did love her urban fantasy, but I'm not sure what I'm gonna think. Earl Crush by Alexandra Vossi. You can see that I really like Regency romance. I really want to be in my Regency romance era. Under Lock and Key by Lana Ferguson, which I think is a monster romance. Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake, and then also Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. The Last List of Mabel Beaumont by Laura Pearson. The Marriage Season by Jane Dunn. Momcom by Adriana Mather, The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata, Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola, The Kiss Curse by Erin Morgenstern, Partners in Crime by Alicia Ray. I think I read The Right Swipe by her in like 2020. Very mid, didn't really care for it, but willing to try more from her. And then we have something by my audiobook queen, Julia Whalen. Thank you for listening. This is her own novel that she wrote. I do believe she narrated as well. She narrates all of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books as well as all of Emily Henry's. And I just think she's one of the best audiobook narrators of our time. So I really want to give one of her books a chance. And honestly, she already said, thank you for listening with the title. So I'm very excited to try that. Then we have A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. You know, I was actually gagged that I had this in my Libro FM library. Apparently I've had A Lady for a Duke since it came out because obviously it was an ALC. I have actually checked that out from the library before. That is how shameful this is, that I did not even know that I had a copy of it. Then we have The Dating Dare by J.C. Lee, Sweet Hand by N.G. Peltier, The Boyfriend Project by Farah Rashon, The Donut Trap by Julie Tew. Next, we're gonna move on into fantasy. We first have The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. I am excited to read this. I've been seeing a lot of buzz for this on Fable and everywhere you can see that it's rated. It just looks like it's gonna be really good. House of Blight by Maxim M. Martineau, Fair Market Value by Haley Edwards, Wildlife by Amanda LeDuc, Song of the Dark Wood by Sheila Masterson, Sister Snake by Amanda Lee Coe, Odd Spirits by S.T. Gibson. I have been hearing that every book that she writes that isn't a Dowry of Blood is bad. The House at Watch Hill by Karen Marie Moning. I was so excited to see this when they had this for download. I think it was like late last year. I was so excited because the Fever series is one of my favorites and I really want a new series from her. The Emperor and the Endless Palace by Justinian Huang, Lilith by Nikki Marmee, Brick Dust and Bones by M.R. Fournier, which I think is a middle grade fantasy, but so I'm excited to dabble into that. Carnival of Curiosities by Amy Gibbs, Benko by Cherie Dimeline, Bindle Punk Bruja by Desdaria Mesa, The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings, The Undertaking of Mercy and Heart by Megan Bannon, which by the way, someone in my comments recently recommended that. The Ballad of Perilous Graves by Alex Jennings, Strange Beasts of China by Yang Ji, and then finally The Kingdom of Liars by Nick Martell, which is actually one of the oldest books in this Libro FM library. I think I got that at the very beginning when I first signed up for the ALC program. Moving on into science fiction, because, you know, the counterpart to fantasy. We have Transmutation Transience by Darkly Lem, Annibot by Sarah Greer, The Stars Too Fondly by Emily Hamilton, The Tatami Galaxy by Tomihiko Morimi, Our Missing Hearts. I actually thought this was going to be a contemporary fiction because that's what a lot of Celeste Ng's stuff has been. But then when I was reading the description, it said it was dystopian and sci-fi. So I just put it in this list. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. August Kitko and the Mechas from Space by Alex White. Midnight Water City by Chris McKinney. All right, moving on into contemporary, we have A Girl Within a Girl by Nanda Reddy. The Lonely Hearts Book Club by Lucy Gilmore. The Secret Life of Albert Entwistle by Matt Kane, which I read the synopsis on this one and I really want to read it because it's about an old man. Just by Looking at Him by Ryan O'Connell, Cobble Hill by Cecily von Ziegesser. I don't think I'm saying that right, but let me tell you, that has an astronomically low rating, like lower than a 3-star, like a 2 point something, which is embarrassing on any platform to be rated like that. But here's the thing. I loved the Gossip Girl books in high school and I just want to feel nostalgic. So I probably will end up DNFing that one, but it is for the nostalgia. Up next, we have horror. We have 2 Stephen Graham Jones. We have The Buffalo Hunter Hunter, which I think is about vampires. And then we have I Was a Teenage Slasher, The Memory Ward by John Bossoff, which people have been describing as like The Truman Show, but like a horror thriller vibe. All Who Wander Are Lost by Gemma Moore, which I do think is a short story collection. Midnight Rooms by Donier Coles, Mr. Lullaby by J.H. McCare, Rouge by Mona Wad, Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas, Everything the Darkness Eats by Eric LaRocca. I was also shocked by the rating on this. This is also like 2 point something. And then up next we have mystery / thriller. First we have Killer Potential by Hannah Deach, The Last Trip by Kirsten Modglin, Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. This is another author that I want to give a second chance because I really didn't like the first book that she came out with. The Lake of Lost Girls by Catherine Green, The Astrology House by Corinne Jade. I remember I downloaded this one because it had a full cast. If I see a full cast on something, especially a thriller, you know I'm sad. I Want You More by Swan Huntley, Three Sisters by O.J. Mullen, Huge by Brent Butt. Don't laugh when I say his name. His last name's Butt, okay? The Trap by Catherine Ryan Howard, Shadow Drive by Nolan Cubero, Killingly by Catherine Buchner, I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Mackay. I think this one got nominated for some Goodreads awards, so. A Cruel Light by Cindy McMillan, Blackwater Falls by Ozma Zahanat Khan, Always the First to Die by R.J. Jacobs, The Corpse Flower by Anne Met Hancock, Against the Current by Olivia Matthews, The Cloisters by Katie Hayes, Counterfeit by Kirsten Chen, Like a Sister by Kelly Garrett, A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins, Apples Never Fall by Liane Moriarty. I've actually never read a Liane Moriarty. I've obviously watched Big Little Lies on HBO, but I've never read a book by her, so I gotta give her a go. The Temple House Vanishing by Rachel Donahue, The Survivors by Jane Harper, Good Night, Beautiful by Amy Malloy. And you would think, surely we've gone through it all. No, we still have 2 more genres. First, we have memoirs. You Could Make This Place Beautiful by Maggie Smith, who I believe is a poet. Have I Told You This Already by Lauren Graham, who is Lorelai from the Gilmore Girls. I never read her other memoir. It is crazy to have 2 memoirs. And then I have Making a Scene by Constance Wu. Then we have historical books. This is the final category for Libro FM. We have Lost in Paris by Betty Webb. Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is another book that I was shook to see in my Libro library because I was like, I did not even know I had that. I probably would have tried to check that out from the library. Woman of Light by Callie Fajardo Anstein, which is kind of funny because I actually unhauled the physical copy of this. I had a copy of it from Book of the Month and I got rid of it recently. I sold it to Half Price Books. Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Jane Austen Society by Natalie Jenner. And that brings us into our final category, which is Kindle. And I was actually surprised to find that I had very few books on my Kindle. Like, I know I've bought books on Kindle in the past, but I guess I used KU more than I thought I did because I actually only have 2. So I think that I may give Foxhole Court a try because so many people I know are like, it's the worst thing I've ever read, but also the most addicting thing I've ever read. This is gonna sound familiar. I also have a copy of Killing Sarai by J.A. Radmirsky. I've actually had the Kindle like ebook version of it way before I had the audiobook version, but that kind of brings me to the end of this TBR. It's a lot of books. It's a lot of books. I am looking for your guidance in the comments. Please tell me the ones that you want me to read the most, which ones to avoid. But I do want to do some sort of project where I get this digital TBR down. But anyway, if you made it to the end of this video and you enjoyed it, feel free to use a headphones emoji and your comments down below because obviously most of these books are audiobooks. And I thank you all so much for watching. You're all beautiful. Have a nice day.